Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Your phone connects you to your family, your friends, your work. It keeps you up to date about the world around you. So why not use it to keep you and your loved ones safe? Now you can. Mass Notify can alert you to possible COVID-19 exposures right on your smartphone. It's anonymous and secure, and your location is never tracked. We're not out of the woods yet, so even if you're vaccinated, Mass Notify is a tool for you. Help Massachusetts reopen safely. Add your phone to the fight. Visit mass.gov/massnotify.
Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, January 26, 2022, and I'm at about 7 days of getting the date right. We are here this morning on We Need to Know Wednesdays. We are talking to incumbent Sheriff Steve Tompkins. In just a few seconds, we're going to introduce him. He's a young man that I've known for a long time, from way back in my days at the Demick Community Health Center with Jackie Jenkins Scott, Danella Clark, and he was a development person, a development assistant director or something at Demick. And now he, after that, he went over as communications to the sheriff's office under Andrea Cabral, and he was appointed as sheriff. I believe it was in, I'm not going to get the year right, so I'm not going to try it, but he was appointed sheriff, ran for sheriff, I believe, once, and is now running again. And as we know, he does have a challenger this year, and we had her on just a couple of weeks ago. And so we're going to talk to our sheriff as well. And so while you are in the comments, I won't be able to get to them right away this morning, but we will go after we speak with our sheriff. I'm about to bring him into the room, and so we're going to say good morning to him. Good morning, Sheriff. Good to see you in the room this morning. Not a stranger to the Java Cafe. Have been here a few times, and I see we coming out the pandemic, because last couple of times you were here, you were working from home or doing different things, and so you're in the office there today. I see you all official in the background, sir. But good to see you in the room this morning. Greet the people, say hello, and we will jump right into some of the work you're doing and why you're running, why you want to stay, in that office.
Yeah. Oh, first of all, good morning, James. That's number one. Number two, man, I just have to tell you how proud I am of you. This show is like rocking it. I think I mentioned to you the last time when I opened up the Boston Globe a little bit back, and I saw a story in the Globe about Java with Jimmy. I was like, that's my man right there, man. That's
Don't start.
Just to circle back, when you and I were at Demick, I was the director of public affairs, and so in that I had marketing, public affairs and marketing, and so my job was basically to talk about the products and services the Demick Community Health Center had. And it's interesting that you reference Jackie Jenkins Scott, who at the time was the CEO. Yeah. I think you know that I'm also the chair of the Board of Trustees at Roxbury Community College.
Yes, sir.
And I was just able to recruit Jackie to come over to RCC. She is the new interim president.
Wait, has this been, hold on, time out. Has this been announced anywhere yet? Is this in the media yet, or is
no, you can talk about it. Yeah, they dropped a press release last week. In fact, we're going to circle back and push it a little bit harder. It didn't get the requisite coverage that I think it should get. But yeah, she starts February 7th. And we feel really good about that. Jackie and I discussed this for about 2 months or so ago. Valerie Robeson, who had been there for 8 years, did a heck of a job turning the school around. But, everything has its season. And, in discussion with Valerie, President Robeson, it was decided that it was time for a change.
Yes.
And so what we're doing is Jackie's coming in. She's coming in with a team, actually. She's known in our communities, and the people that she's bringing with her are from our community. So that's good, because there was a big community cry for someone like Jackie to come in. And then she's going to do a full assessment of the school, talking to all of the major stakeholders. And probably April, May timeframe, we will begin a search for the permanent president. She's not going to be the permanent, but she has committed to giving us 1 year to pull this whole thing together. So we're really excited about that. And you know, Jackie, when we work there, I mean, she gets the job done. You know,
she does. And I know totally different subject from what we were planning to come and talk about, but we have to celebrate this wonderful Black queen for whom we both used to work. I was intricate and the founder of the Jackie Jenkins Scott Summer Enrichment Youth Program with Gail Crump Swavey back in the day, and Latifa Hassan.
That's
so
right.
Lamont over. Oh, okay. So let's leave the Demick campus and go a few miles over.
Now, shooting over to the sheriff's department. Yes, I entered the department with Andrea Cabral in 2002.
Yep.
As the director of communications, 2005, promoted to the chief of external affairs, and in 2013 she went to work for Governor Patrick as his secretary of public safety. Governor Patrick tapped me to be at that time the interim sheriff. So I had to run in 2014.
Okay.
Then I had to run again in 2016 because the state does not allow you to play out your predecessor's term. So you have to keep running. So I've run twice thus far, and this is my third run to retain this office.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity, Sheriff. And so let's jump right in, because we have you for about a half an hour. And so from public affairs to being the law enforcement officer for the county, how would you do? First of all, let me back up a little bit, because we always ask our guests how they're doing, check in with them. You're in a campaign season, a season year. I believe you're a dad, and you shared before with the loss of your, I believe, wife a couple of years ago. And so we want to check in with you, with all due respect, outside of Sheriff. How is Steve doing?
You know what, man? I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, we did. We lost our mom and wife in 2016. My kids are doing good, man. You know, they're 21, 23. My son's a gamer, so he plays. He works for that company that Grand Theft Auto, I think it's called. So he works
that's the name of the game. One of the guests in here is a gamer, and he will quickly tell us who it's by. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and my daughter's in culinary art school, and they still live with me. They won't leave. But that's cool. You know, it's another story for another day. You know, you can't get these kids out the house, but that's all good. And I'm doing fine. So thank you for asking. I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. And so in that, transition of going, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, from public affairs at Demick to public affairs at the sheriff's office, and then becoming interim sheriff and then running, what was that transition like? And what are some of the accomplishments that you believe you've made from then until now?
How much time you got? No. Listen, interesting you should ask that question, because when I came in, I dealt with the media a lot when we were at Demick. And prior to that, I think, I was a television producer and director, mostly dealing in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
And so when we got to the sheriff's department, I thought that dealing with the media would be the same. And Sheriff Cabral tried to enlighten me to say that it's not the same. And it wasn't the same. Trying to get messaging out about what we do in a corrections facility is difficult, particularly when you talk about positive stuff.
Yes.
If it's negative, we are on the front page. And so that dynamic of traversing my way down those avenues to find out how I could get our messaging out, particularly our productive, positive messaging, was a challenge. It's something that we've been able to do, but it wasn't an easy lift. When you talk about accomplishments, I mean, there's a myriad number of programs that we have put together here at the Sheriff's Department to basically do this. We have to take care of people that are probably at one of the lowest points in their lives when you talk about being incarcerated. Our mandate here is called care, custody, and control. And when I'm standing in front of audiences, what I do is I try to explain what that means. And I start with custody. And if you look up the word custody in the dictionary, there's two meanings. And the first is imprisonment, but the second is rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. So that's what we try to do here, is to help people improve their station in life. It's not about being punitive. It's about being, wrapping your arms around those that need the help of society and community to get back up on their feet. And so we do a number of programs with our youth to keep them out of the criminal justice system. And actually, you know what? I got to tell you, Jimmy, I don't really refer to it as the criminal justice system. I
Okay.
refer to it as the criminal legal system.
Yep. Yep.
And the reason I do that is if you don't have money, you may not get the justice that you require. So it's really the criminal legal system. So we try to keep our youth out of the legal system, keep them away from a life of criminality.
Yep.
But then as you move forward, we work with not only the individuals that are remanded here, but we work with their families also, because that's crucially important. You
Yep.
know, I'll stop there. You ask me a question and I'll shoot.
Go ahead. And so thank you for covering sort of from public affairs into policy. And you mentioned a lot of the programs that you have started there, and that is on the good end. And we've talked about some challenges before as well. And so, what would you consider your greatest challenge as being sheriff?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Look, when you talk about who's our population, 65% of our population are the folk that are here with us are black or brown. They look like me.
5%?
Yeah, 60.
60. Oh, I was getting ready to say, okay, well, we thank God that the numbers are going down. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
65%. But no, they look like us. That's a bad thing.
Yep.
70% of our population is struggling with some form of substance use or abuse. Okay. I think it's 33% of our population suffers from mental illness.
Yep.
Okay. 28% of our female population is dual diagnosed. And so they are suffering both from substance abuse and mental health issues. So when you talk about what we have accomplished, or one of the best things that I'm looking at is how do we wrap our arms around folk to get them the necessary care that they need while they're here, but then to be able to work with external partners so that when they leave here, they've got another place to go to continue that care. And that's very important. That continuum of care is crucially important in this state and in the country, but in this state, the recidivism rate, meaning the people that keep coming back, is about 46%. That's half of the people that come here.
Can I chime in and ask you something based on that? And then I want to go to, because of course we can't have you in the room and not talk about mass and cast. There's been some things that was done. And so when you talk, I just lost it. What did you just say 2 seconds ago? Continuum of care.
Yeah, the continuum of care, but I talked about the recidivism rate of people coming back.
This is what I wanted to ask. So I had a former employee of the DA's office yesterday in the room. And, the past 2 days, kind of a law enforcement theme. Wherewith you're comfortable sharing, or if you know a number, since, we had this time where we had our DA is black, our sheriff is black. And so have you noticed, when you talk about recidivism, have you noticed that since she's been in those type of what they would call low misdemeanor, her list of 15, have you noticed that has decreased? Has the cycle, have you noticed the impact of or any decrease based on what District Attorney Rollins was doing?
Right. So here's the thing about what DA Rollins, now United States attorney for the state of Massachusetts, did. When she came out with that list of 15, I called her and I said, wow, that's a pretty interesting list. And I said, some of the things that you will not prosecute are that low level offenses, but they sometimes lead to higher stages of criminality. She said, listen, I want to focus on the top shelf of criminality and not those that may be first-time offenders, non-violent offenders, and so on and so forth. I will say this, although I was in deference with that when she first got into office, I have an entirely different view on that now, because she really did wrap her arms around the higher level incidences of crime and not putting people in jail. But let me say this to you, and you may know this, and she may have mentioned it to you. I think it was either 6 weeks or 6 months after she became the district attorney, she was approached by NYU, the University of Texas, and Rutgers University to do a report. She talked about it. Yeah, to do that report that basically bared out what she was saying was true, that if people are never introduced to the criminal legal system, the chances of them ever doing that has gone down. That said, if they are introduced to the criminal legal system, then they're caught in that trap, and so I think she did yeoman's work, and I think she caught a lot of hell for that, but we all know Rachel does not suffer fools gladly, and I think she stuck to her guns, and I think she did a heck of a good job, and I'm very interested to see how she's going to comport herself now in her new role.
shout out to that wonderful queen making that achievement as well. And so it's interesting because Bobby Constantino, who was the person in her office, facilitated that. So we literally talked about the report 24 hours ago. So thank you for raising that again. To the point, you mentioned partnerships and the wraparound that the DA's office did. And one of I would see one of your biggest challenges would be being in proximity to Mass and Cass. There was the whole CO thing that happened a couple of years ago. Folks in the community were like, hey, and so what would you say to the current state of Mass and Cass right now? We have a new mayor. There was some radical things, quick sort of swift things done in that space. What is the status of Mass and Cass right now?
You know, I got to tell you, props to Mayor Wu. I mean, you know, she came in with her plan. Well, actually, to tell you the truth, Mayor Janey also had a plan that she put out that I thought was pretty darn good. You know, it got in front of us near the end of her tenure as mayor. But I thought it was pretty darn good, you know, and she and Governor Baker convened a series of meetings with myself, the DA, the AG, cops, judges, so on and so forth, to talk about Mass and Cass and what we needed to do. And Mayor Wu was actually in one of those meetings, the last one of those meetings. She comes in, she puts everything on pause. She takes her time to get her folks to put another plan in place that was going to deal with the crucial need for housing. Right. Okay, the crucial need for housing. And then she said, look, we're not going to do anything during the holiday season. After the holidays, they went down in a very compassionate way, posted notices to let everybody know it's over. We've got to move these tents out of here because it was really, if you ever been down there, Jimmy, it was a horrific situation. You know, you had drug trafficking, you had human trafficking, you had garbage everywhere. It was just terrible. Now, there's some of those streets now you can probably eat off of. Now, I wouldn't do it, but, you know, what I mean is that it's really clean, and I think they've done a very effective job. Here's the rub. What happens next spring? And that's what we're all waiting for, to see what happens next spring, because are they going to come back? You know, I would say that they will not allow another community to develop inside of a community. This kind of thing just popped up here where you had a couple of tents here, 5 here, 15 there, 200. It was like that. And so one of the things that I said over the summer was, look, in early fall, I said, I have some space in my department and I will take individuals into the department. I said, I'll take in 100 that are already touching the criminal legal system, meaning that they have outstanding warrants, and not just one warrant. I'm talking about multiple warrants. So we said, we will take them in. What will they get? They will get, a bed, a shower, food, clothes, medication, try to help with reuniting them with their families. And we thought it was a good thing. But we got major pushback from ACLU, Prisoner Legal Services, CPCS, and the like, because there were some people that thought that we were trying to criminalize the situation.
Right. They had to be in the system first, and this was sort of an alternative.
Exactly. They're already touching the criminal legal system.
And so that program got disbanded, right? I think.
Well, let me break it down for you. So we're looking at a humanitarian crisis. And if we are committed community partners, which is what the citizens, the residents of Suffolk County voted me to be, then I thought it was my job to at least try to offer a plan that would help them. Okay. And so, yes, the program, like I say, Mayor Wu has put another plan in place that I think is working well. But we were saying that we will help in any way we can. We're not trying to criminalize people. People said to me, you're trying to get money. You're going to enhance your budget. What I said to people is, this is going to cost me money. I'm not going to make money. I'm going to lose money. And then I'm going to have to go to the State House and beg for a supplemental appropriation because the state was not giving us money to do that. Then people would say, well, you're trying to increase your numbers of people that are incarcerated. No, we're not. We're in the middle of a humanitarian crisis. It's going to get cold. It's going to snow and people are going to die. So let's get them off the street. And so I'm glad to see that they've received some of the help that they need. Yep. And I do believe, you know me, I'm a big fan of Mayor Wu's, that care will continue.
Got you. One of the other things I wanted to get an update from you about, and thank you last time you came in, we had a very transparent conversation about the process, as well as some updates about the deaths that occurred there in South Bay. What is the status of either? Because I if I remember right, there was some level of like not pushback, but better communication and processes with the state when that happens? Where are things with those processes and protocols so a family will not be impacted again? You know, similar to the deaths there. You did give us clarity. I would tell you all who can't go fully into it now, but go back. I believe it was in October of last year, but I'll share a link about it. But can you give us an update about what that looks like now to prevent something like that happening again?
So let me say this to you.
Yes, sir.
What you're talking about is over the summer, we had 4 people pass away.
Yes.
Almost like boom, 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 unfortunately.
Yes, sir.
What people didn't know and what we were trying to convey to the families and to the media, well, the families were able to talk to, but more so the media, is that 3 of the 4 people have been with us for less than 48 hours. What I mean about that is people showed up very ill, very sick, you know, and unfortunately they may have passed away if there was they probably would have passed away if they were somewhere else. They happened to be with us when they passed away. And I've gone on record as saying that I think there needs to be a more intimate relationship between the Department of Public Health and the Department of Corrections. If I'm going to have, or if sheriffs, if jails are going to have as many people with us that have some serious illnesses, either mental or use of substance abuse, then we need to have a more intimate relationship with the Department of Public Health to deal with this. And so you're right. I can't tell you because of HIPAA regulations how they died. But what I did say and what we did say to the families is this. The families could go to the courts and petition to be the representative for their loved one.
That's right.
Once they get that designation, then they can go to the medical examiner, and the medical examiner can give them more information. But the sheriff's department cannot do that. And so people were saying to us, oh, you know, people are dying, you know, on your watch. What are you doing? And as I maintain, unfortunately, they probably would have died or passed away wherever they were. And so we work mightily, James, to make sure that, you know, when I talk about my mandate, care, custody, and control, it falls under care. Okay. And we work mightily to make sure that we are taking care of those individuals that have been remanded to us. And this started before me. This actually began with Sheriff Cabral when she was here, you know, working collaboratively internally with our different divisions and externally with our external partners to bring forth the care that people need.
Got you covered. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that you've done all that you can do to, because it seemed like it was a processing thing and you've called for better communication between DPH. Has the process though changed? We understand what happened when they got there, but that from the getting there process, where is that specifically? Are they still doing that sort of holding? And I remember one point was you didn't have all the information, you know, that should have come with them. And so that process, has it changed, or on paper, is it still the same?
Well, it's pretty much still the same. And let me say this: government moves at a glacial pace.
Oh, I know.
It takes forever to change.
Trust me.
And case in point, what you just referenced. For those in your audience that may not be familiar with what's called a Section 35, that's called a civil commit, where family members or others can commit me or you to an incarceration facility. The state lost a Section 35 lawsuit for women, and there's one now pending for men. And that's why when I talked about mass and cast, I said I am not going to take in Section 35s because I think that would have gotten us off the track of what it was that we were trying to do. But now let me tell you about a big flaw that's in this law for Section 35s. If someone is in my department or another sheriff's department, that is a Section 35. And the way that they would get here is when they leave court, the sheriff's department, we're basically the Uber drivers for the courts. We have to take them from the courts to wherever they're going to go next.
That's what I remember. Yep.
And so the law says, though, if you have a Section 35 individual in your care and custody, you cannot, and I want to emphasize this, you cannot give them a medical examination. What? Are you serious?
Something to your assessment that you just be clear. You mentioned an assessment before, and if we could finish this quick, because I want to jump into the after 5 stuff.
Sure.
Go ahead, sir.
Yep.
No, I just wanted you to finish your point, and then we can go into.
No, I'm just saying. So you can't. So we were not able to give one of the individuals a medical because it's against the law. You see. So if we're going to be the Uber drivers for the courts, then tweak that law so that whenever anybody else comes in, We give them medical. We want to find out what their medical situation is, and we couldn't do that with that person.
Understood. And that okay, so let's jump in on this. So when I say after 5, I mean, campaign or whatever. And so you this year, I don't think you've had a quote unquote challenger in your last couple of runs. I think one year you did the green sign guy. I think he said
Well, I don't talk about my opponent's names, but we had my very first campaign, and he was taking doors, Jimmy, doors, like your closet door, painting it green, saying vote for Sheriff so and so, when he was not the sheriff.
So I understand. And so now the different cadence of your challenger, someone that used to work for you. And so let me ask you this, though you're the incumbent, I ask all candidates this. Why are you running? Why are you running to continue to stay in the office?
My work's not done yet.
Okay.
My work's not done yet.
What is it more that you want to do?
I want to, as I mentioned earlier, keep our youth out of the criminal legal system so they don't morph into the adult system.
Okay.
But equally as important, strengthen individuals and families. We have a program called Family Matters, where we deal with the families of a number of individuals where the family situation is one that's really challenged. And a lot of the individuals at home don't know about the social service agencies that can help them, or have approached them and have been not turned away, but not dealt with in a way that they would like. And so what we do is act as an intermediary between the family and the agency. Sometimes they have difficulty getting in touch with the manager or somebody in that agency. If the sheriff's department calls said agency, they're going to take our call. Right. And if things kind of go off the rails, then one of my caseworkers is going to go down to that. Well, when you could go down to an agency before COVID to have that discussion about how can we help the family, you see. And as long as we're going to have this major battle with poverty, which is not going away anytime soon, if excuse me, my work's not done. You see.
And what's one of the if favorable in another, I believe it's yours is 6-year term, correct? 6-year term. If favorable in another 6-year term, 6 years from now, what are 2 things that you will radically do in that office?
During that 6 years or after that 6 years?
During that 6 year, well, at the completion of the 6 years, what will you be able to look back and say, during my 4th or 3rd term, we completed X, Y, and Z that's atypical of everything else? We'll be in a real post-pandemic period. As much as you're going to work for young people to not be in that system, 6 years out from now, some of these young people that is 10, they'll be 16. And so what 2 radical things that you would want to do in that office in consideration of the time we will be in?
So what we are doing is strengthening the programs that we have in place. We have a program called the Peace program, where we take that 18 to 24-year-old cohort and separate them from the general population, principally because the brain is not fully mature until you're like 25 or 26.
Right.
So something that you might do at 18, you probably wouldn't do at 24. And so what we're trying to do is strengthen all of our programs so that at the end of that 6 years, as you say, whether I'm still the sheriff or somebody else comes in, those programs are rock solid, rock solid.
What does rock solid mean?
That there are programs that cannot, that are producing productive results. That's rock solid, so that we can continue to help individuals and families, you see, and that's crucially important. As you know, sometimes when a new person comes in, they call it new broom sweeps clean. And so because, somebody who may come in after me might say, I've got a different idea for different programs. And so I'm going to get rid of those other programs and put in a new slate of programs. What we're going to do is make those programs so viable, so meaningful, that they won't want to get rid of those programs. They will want to continue that continuum of care. That's one. The other thing here, in my department in Suffolk County, I have promoted more women and more people of color on both sides, the security side and the civilian side, than all of the other sheriffs collectively. Okay, we have a serious outreach in our academies. We have generally 3 or 4 academies every year to bring in people of color, to bring in women, to bring in people that live in Suffolk County. And the reason we are really insistent upon bringing people in from Suffolk County is because sometimes you'll get a person who lives in Maine or New Hampshire, and they may talk to an individual that's incarcerated here or treat them in a way that they think is okay. They might be too punitive, but they know they're never going to see that person, you see. But if you're from Suffolk County, you're from Dorchester, and dude is from Dorchester, you might want to think differently on how you're going to talk to this male or female, because you might bump into them out on the street and they may let you know,
I know what you mean.
but let them know that, that wasn't cool. It wasn't cool. So keeping those programs in a way that's going to be meaningful and productive on one side, and on the other side, making sure that our labor force is reflective of our inmate population. And I'll stop by saying this. When we got here in 2002, the labor force of color was probably about 18%.
Okay.
It is now somewhere in the upper 20 percentile, lower 30 percentile. So we've been very consistent, very concerned with making sure that we bring people. I'll give you another real quick program, and then I'll stop and you can go. We have a program called the Choice Program, where when you can send officers into the schools before COVID, we would send Latin officers into predominantly Latin, white, predominantly white, black, predominantly black. Reason being is we wanted an immediate identification with those kids, with those officers, you see. And so, you see an officer coming in the uniform, people are like, oh, what is that about?
Mm-hmm.
But if a black child sees a black male or a black female come in, that looks like, hey, looks like my Aunt Dot, or my Uncle Willie, you see. Yep. And so these are the things that's really important when you talk about identifying people's problems and then helping them to help themselves. And to do that, I believe that our labor force needs to be reflective of the individuals that have been remanded to our care. So those are the two things off the top of my head, programming and making sure that our labor force understands that we're moving from a punitive state, not we, the sheriff's department, but corrections, period, from a punitive state to a rehabilitative state. I think that's really important.
Understood. And one of the points that you made there was and I've asked, Ben Downing at one point was running for governor, and I asked him about his demographic in a time. He's a white male.
I know Ben.
Wonderful brother. I'm kind of disappointed he didn't stay in. Mm-hmm. And so white male, but I asked him in the context of ethnicity and gender. I'm going to ask you a question in the two kind of different, but almost in the same vein. In this period, 2018, we celebrated Rachel Rollins. There was Liz Miranda, Nika Elugaro, and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. There is a sentiment of women and women of color being elected. And have you thought about that as a male in Boston politics? Things in this, last city council race, a couple of our brothers, were not successful, not even entertained by a couple of unions. What do you see as the landscape based on you being a male in a time where there is this uprise of women, specifically Black women, women of color, who are running for office? Where do you see that dynamic in the vein of the race?
So let me say this to you. I don't give the former president any props. Mm-hmm. I will say this about Trump. He got people re-engaged with the civic process. Because of all of the stuff that he did during his 4 years there, more people of color, more women, more of our youth have re-engaged with civics. Unfortunately, 30, 40 years ago, the public school system began to chop away at some of their programming. Civics was one of them. Physical education and the arts, okay? And so if you don't understand civics, you don't understand how community and government works together. You follow me?
Yep.
What he did with his nonsense, frankly, was to get people re-engaged with the civic process. Okay. And so that brought in a tidal wave of ladies and people of color and youth. And I think it's awesome. I think that's the way it's supposed to be. If we are a government for the people, by the people, of the people, whatever, I probably said that phrase wrong, then that's what needs to happen. So I think it's extraordinary. And I will say this to you. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was 11 years old. And I was having a conversation with my mother. And she said to me, son, I need you to understand something. And I come from a family that has scores of really strong women. She said, I need you to understand something. She says, women actually run the show here. Let you guys think you run the show here. And I've never forgotten that, because my mom was the salt of the earth, all of that, but so were my aunts and my cousins. And as I left the house to come to college, and I met scores of women that really are can do, get it done individuals. Bring that to politics. Bring that to government, okay? Males have done this for quite some time. It's time for our ladies to get in to also continue to help move this nation forward. I think it's a great thing. I really do.
Thank you, sir, for that feedback. I am I'm excited about the fact that both of you coming in or both of you being candidates is going to result in a different level. Similar to what this year is going to be interesting, because these are two key law enforcement positions which we are used to a certain sentiment, certain level of melanin in these positions. And so I think that similar with the DA's race of 18, that this race is what the sheriff does and what they have the ability to do, I think is going to be paramount and an end result of this, race for this office. And so, Sheriff, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to come in. I'm going to reach out to you and Sandy, and I won't call it, debate, but maybe a conversation, with the two of you later on in the year, just to talk about your platforms. But I really appreciate you coming in, sir. I'm trolling the comments a little bit just to see if there's anything that we missed.
So let me say this. Let me say this. My opponent, who worked here for 16 years, did some really good things. I know her family. Her sister used to work here. One of our other sisters used to sing at our academies, sing the national anthem. I've broken bread with her mom and dad. I believe that one of the tenets of democracy is if you've got that burning desire to run for office, you should run for office. I think that's great. My slight problem with the way this was done is that I wasn't put on notice. You want to run, fine. You want to run against me, I'd rather you not, but that's fine too. But what happened was she came in, she resigned effective immediately, called her staff in, let them know that she was resigning, and she left the building. Now, when she was with our HR director, she gave him the resignation. Hold on.
Let me just, because I that is something that if I got both of y'all together, so she, you're asserting a process, and she's not here to say why or whatever. And so I would like to maybe continue that part of the conversation.
Well, let me say this. No, my understanding is when she was on your show, she made reference to the fact that she spoke to me. Okay.
So
she did speak to me. Wait, no, hold on, Jimmy. I have to say this and then I will shut up. Here's the thing. She gives her resignation to my HR director. He says, are you going to notify the sheriff? She asked him to do it. He calls me. I start calling her because I think something's really wrong. Right. She didn't call me back. She didn't text me back. The next morning, she calls me to tell me she's running against me. Okay. I think after 16 years here, I think if nothing else, the courtesy of a call was important. I was not afforded that.
Okay. On the political and you, I got to be fair. You said there was reference to when she was on. And so that's even more reason when we try to get both of you back. But what I will say is that I celebrate the fact that a Black man and a Black woman is running for sheriff of Suffolk County. And I look forward to talking to you all more and together. But to the point of if I could just ask you one thing, getting back to sort of policy, is Dalita was asking if you could name one legislative priority. You do have some influence, in the state house as the sheriff, of course. What's one legislative policy that you would like to see come to pass?
I mean, well, you got to give me more definition on that because there's so many. I mean, you can talk about our youth. You can talk about the fact that we need to have more beds outside of a correction facility to really deal with the mental health and substance abuse issues.
Okay.
We can talk about the need for housing. We can talk about the need for better employment with a higher wage. We can talk about the need to get quality healthcare. So there's so many things, it's hard to just pick one because all of these things are crucially important. And when individuals leave here in the absence of healthcare, employment, and a place to lay their head, chances are they may be coming back. And so legislatively, our legislators really have to look at how they get these services to people that are in need so that if they do something untoward, they're not thrown in jail. There's a bunch of people here, Jimmy, that shouldn't be here.
For many reasons. And
for many reasons.
Yep.
But because of the way the system is broken down and the scarcity of services and beds for these individuals, they throw them in jail at $55,000 annually for each individual. I have well over 1,000 people in our care, custody, and control. That's ridiculous. Yes, that is an outrageous waste of money. That's money that should be reprioritized in a different way. In other words, Jimmy, I'll stop you. Get in front of the curve, not behind the curve.
Yeah.
And the way we do it is we're behind the curve. We need to get our money and our resources in front of the curve and take care of our communities, our Black, our brown, our low-income communities, because people are hurting.
I understand, sir, and thank you for the understanding a few minutes ago, as well as addressing the legislative piece. One minor question in response to that: are there any legislators that you're currently working with? Any proposed legislation that either they have approached you or you've approached them and been like, well, not been like, but like, hey, this right here, how are you going? Can you sponsor it and help me push it through? Is there any?
I gotta tell you, Representative China Tyler.
Okay.
Has been like all that and then some, and that's not taking it away from
actively you're working on.
Oh yeah, no. She's been awesome. I must say, she really has answered the bell insofar as who comes to jail and why they come to jail and how do we stop them from coming to jail. But there are others in the legislative body that are also, really Frank Baker, City Councilor Frank Baker, Senator Collins, particularly around the issue of substance abuse. Use and that sort of thing. So there's a bunch of the legislators that we've talked to and worked with. But you know what? As a body, and I'm not in that body, as a body, they have to get their arms around this situation and they have to do something to keep people away from my facility.
I understand. I smiled there, and you probably know why, but I'll let you go so you won't be on when I'm smiling, sipping my coffee. Sheriff, I thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you more. Also having Sandy with us as well in the next coming months. Drink water. Remember self-care.
No doubt.
And take care of yourself. And again, I'm enjoying that wins or not, sir. One thing before we go, because I promised to do this in the beginning, because it's someone that we know and love very well. But today is Aisha Johnson Miller. She's Aisha Miller, but I call her AJ. Today is her birthday.
Oh, shout out. Major shout. She's awesome.
We want to celebrate Aisha Miller for her birthday. I forgot to do it in the beginning because we wanted to jump right in with the sheriff. But Aisha, we appreciate you, everything you do. Sheriff, I'll let you go. I need to make some announcements and pay some bills, but I appreciate you, sir, coming in. Thank you for the time. Please give the team there my best, especially Peter. Tell him I said what's up, because we go way, way back. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
sir.
All right.
Hey, everyone. That was our incumbent sheriff of Suffolk County, Steve Tompkins. And it was definitely a good conversation. I'm going to reach out to Sandy and both of them and have them both come back. But hopefully you all agree that we handled that part well. We are saying happy birthday to Aisha Johnson, who I call her Aisha Miller. Her husband's going to get me Aisha Miller, but I met her as Aisha Johnson. But happy birthday to you, Aisha, and many, many more. Aisha turned 25 today. And so let's say happy birthday to her. And just a few announcements before we get ready to go. And I am going to let you all go because I need to get my happy self to the store. Because they talking 78 language. They talking a blizzard on Saturday this weekend. And speaking of that, I just wanted to let you all know that I was planning to try to pull off a virtual in-person Java Cafe on Saturday. And I was working with the Underground. And I just, with this forecast, their staff, there will probably be less Uber drivers on the road for you all to get your food, your Java pack, in order to have it in time for the show. I'm going to go ahead and forego Saturday out of abundance of safety for the staff at the Underground and also the drivers. Sometimes drivers are struggling and they'll go out trying to make some money. Rates may be higher because of the storm. I don't want nobody to have an accident on their way to drop off a Java pack. And also, I don't want y'all fussing at me if it arrives late or it doesn't arrive. And so just to update about that there, Saturday, you all enjoy Saturday. I might come on live. Carrie Mays was scheduled to come and talk with me. So I might still do that because I want to do a community check-in. All right. Just to let you guys know, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I have the wonderful privilege and opportunity of hosting my friend and brother, Quincy Roberts, who I believe can somebody, I think it's Quincy's birthday today as well. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. But Quincy is the LGBTQI plus liaison for the city of Boston, and he is working on a campaign called Beyond Pride. And he is coming with us to talk about their release tomorrow that's taking place at 12 p.m., but he will be with us at 9 a.m. And on Friday, I call her Madam President of the NAACP Boston branch, but she has stepped up to raise her voice to run for Secretary of State. And Tanisha M. Sullivan will be with us Friday morning at 9 a.m. to talk about her candidacy. And then on Monday morning, don't forget you guys have homework. There's homework for Mental Health Mondays. Due this Monday at 9 a.m. And what you need to do for homework to get ready for Dr. Brandy for Mental Health Mondays is write down 2 things that surprised you, that you accomplished. And the other part of the homework is to write down an area in which you want to grow. And so she'll be back with us Monday at 9 a.m. And then we are coming back. We started a segment last year with Naisha Deed of Pure Spark and also Jelani Lynch of Ambition to the City. We took a break, but we are coming back on Monday, January 31st for Black Mental Wealth. We're continuing in the vein of green space, talking about equity in the cannabis industry here in Boston, and also talking about Black spaces here in Boston. So Black Mental Wealth is returning on Monday, January 31st. And also, I would like to ask your support and your prayers this evening at 8 p.m. We are sponsoring a holding space for the family of Deja Jenkins Minus, who was born on February 15th, 1999, and left us in her eternal rise on November 25th, 2021. Many of you may be aware of the circumstances around her death, and her family wants her story to be known, and we're going to come and support them this evening. That will begin at 8 p.m. The family and some providers with which I worked, we are going to ensure that resources are made available this evening, and we're going to share some information with you. There are providers from the Boston response team, and also Ruthie Rollins from We Are Better Together, who's going to come in and talk about interpersonal relationship dynamics and also handling trauma. So Java fam, I'm asking you if you could be present this evening at 8 p.m. and just be in a place of support for this family. I understand today that her mom is going to call in, so I'm going to need you guys' support, because, you know, it's going to be interesting hearing her. And so we're asking you to come in at 8 p.m. today and support that family. And I appreciate you all in advance for doing that. And so we'll see you this evening at 8 p.m. for the tribute and memorial to Deja Jenkins Minus. There's another announcement that Props will get me for making, but I just don't want to make it right now. After that one, we'll let that be the last announcement. I will say be sure to be here Monday, because we decided to drop the website on Monday rather than Tuesday. And so you'll get the information there, but please don't forget this evening at 8 p.m. and we will talk with you then. I believe I have everything covered. I don't have a text from Props. I don't see I missed anything. And Misha, I love my family, but Misha, we can wrap up at 9:51. But I love you. Keep my sisters and my family in prayer as well. And I believe that is it for me today. I tried out this new function in the platform where they let you play music in the background. I'm going to turn that off because I don't really like it. What about this one? I'm going to go. See you guys this evening at 8 p.m. Have a wonderful Wednesday. And I think that is definitely it for me. I got everything covered today. And so we're going to go. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace. We'll talk to you soon.